there's like a crossover as well between the two. And for the whole Diddy case, there's a lot of, it's like we were talking about the mountains or the that they want to take over, and one of them is the music industry. You know, that's a huge one that they want to be at the top level, and they'll bring in governmental figures and military and all the infiltration into that to make sure that they have their product or their MK Ultra, like, you know, Justin Bieber. You know, we were talking about how, like, with Diddy, he kind of took ownership. That's real to Justin Bieber. That's kind of their, I mean, that's what they do. They normally have you, have somebody take ownership over you as a MK Ultra, for whatever mountain they're wanting to control. And then you have like Britney Spears, definitely MK Ultra, probably still being controlled today. And they try to make you think, they put it out in the media, oh, she's going crazy or he's going crazy, or to discredit who they are, the reality. I mean, anybody that looks at it and you say, you know, you're doing a video with this 15-year-old child and saying, we're about to get buck wild, and, you know, like, you know, who does that? And it's just, I believe there's like a mirror resemblance. It's like you've got the out in the open, like they're kind of putting it in your face. Mm-hmm. This is what's going on. But underneath that, there's the programming of these child stars and people that are involved in the Diddy parties, the freak offs or whatever. You've got the layers, and they're going to present what they want you to see, and because they feel like that gives them power, and then they're going to try to suppress the rest of it. But I really don't feel like that they had taken into consideration that any of what was going on would ever be brought in open. Like, I think has surprised them.
So, and this comes back to some of the stuff that we were talking about in the last podcast we did, because, you know, you were taken to facilities, you were shown the grids, you were actually, it was explained to parts of you, plans. When this person comes to power, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the phase of the operation.
Absolutely.
And when this person comes to power, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be your job during that. And they were laying it out years in advance. So you described that. Did you ever have it described to you when Epstein goes down, or when Diddy is this, or no?
As far as like what's going to happen in like the programming, I really feel like it was kind of a afterthought. And that sounds funny to say that with them, because they are very strategic in what they do. I think they had gotten to set, like with my main programmers, they had gotten to such a prideful place, thinking that program's never going to break down. Like, we can send you to these people and they can pray for you, and you'll never, you know, we can program you about scripture and about Jesus and dress up like Jesus and rape you and all these different things, but they won't be able to get to you. I think they had gotten so prideful they didn't think that they could be touched.
Wow.
I feel like that, and they're seeing that's not true, because actually it's really crumbling more than I ever thought it would.
So it's crumbling. So you're, I mean, basically saying that this is a bit of a, I mean, from what was explained to you that you're aware of when you were fully controlled, this is definitely outside of the plan. What's happening?
Absolutely outside the plan.
Oh goodness. And so some of this is damage control that we're watching.
Absolutely.
Or like thinking on the fly, like.
Yeah, more of like, how do we put out just enough? Because that's a lot of what they do with programming. Like they mix a truth with a lie, and that's why it's so powerful. Like they'll use scripture and do other things, and like, so that little bit of truth with the other, like that's kind of how they will control. So I think they've allowed like some of it to come out more, but I never knew of a plan that it would come to this. Like this is, I really think it's the justice of Papa God, and the reality that survivors are being given a voice, and you know, you can only hear the truth like so many times before you, from different sources, till you start believing it. And I think that's what's going on, really.
All right, so all of that is very hopeful, and that's exactly where my heart is. I see that God is actually moving things around. I see that He is reacting, because there are people taking a stand. We're some of them, right?
Absolutely.
And you know, I've been in this seat now for over a decade, and I'm not quitting. So there's good news. I want to change the conversation a little bit and come back to something that you had said earlier, dealing with other survivors now corroborating your account of Epstein was also involved in science projects on children. There were labs. They saw him shapeshift. Okay, there is a darker side of this world that a lot of people, I think, are still struggling to believe exists. So, you know, when people say shapeshifting, certain people tend to tune out. They're like, that's not possible. They're just wicked people. They're just evil people that do bad things, but nobody shapeshifts. Or, you know, you have someone like Roseanne Barr come out and say, they eat babies, they eat children, and people are like, ha, 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 you know. They don't do that. People don't cannibalize. I want to talk a little bit about that side of this thing, and what you have to say about that. I mean, do some of these evil people shapeshift? Have you seen that? Do these evil people cannibalize? What is the purpose of these kinds of practices? Talk to me.
Yeah, so absolutely. I've definitely seen shape-shifting into like a werewolf-looking figure, and then just kind of like more like a golem, kind of just very evil and demonic. I think what it's hard for people to understand is that there can be a time, you know, everybody's like, well, you know, anybody can get saved. And the reality is, yes, you can make a choice for Jesus anytime. But there are people that choose, like they know God, like know who He is. They know Jesus and know who He is. They know the Bible better than a lot of people know it. But they choose Satan, like 100%. They give their entire being over to Satan. Like they've already made their choice. It's like give them over to a depraved mind. They've already made their choice of who they choose. There's not any going back because they've already made their choice. So they become really their whole, like, it's not even really a creation of God anymore. It's really a embodiment of Satan. And so I think that's a hard thing, like, for people. For people to really understand or grasp that if you ask Satan to take over, knowing full well what Jesus did for you, but you choose not to have that. All of that evil that indwells, like you ask the demons, they can really shift you into whatever form they want, because you're not God's creation anymore. You have become completely evil. And so I would definitely see them shift into different forms, very demonic looking, not human looking forms, like werewolf kind of, a lot of the werewolf forms they would use with me, because they did a lot of programming that I was like completely out of control, that I was like going, while I was sleeping, I was sneaking out and killing people, and when I didn't know it, I was hurting people, which they correlated with, like, if anybody's ever watched like the werewolf stuff where they like really shift into that, to a werewolf, like they don't even realize they're doing it, like it just happens overnight. So a lot of times they would chain me up and things like that, just to reinforce that I was one, like I looked like them, I was like them. And then also with the cannibalism, they get demonic power from eating flesh of children. Like they feel a level of power and strength through that. So that's why they seek that out. They do, they dismember people in horrid situations. They, when you don't have a choice, they force you to do that, which is absolutely hideous, and it causes a lot of split to your personality. But there's a lot of that, because they see it as the really highest level of power, consuming the flesh of a child, like with adrenochrome and things like that, like really consuming, like saying I'm taking on the form of God because I'm taking in this human flesh, like I'm above God. So it's done a lot, and a lot of satanic rituals, connected with that, unfortunately.
So, obviously, this is something that you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of rituals where, they would like fillet a person, like really like taking the skin off of a person, because they kind of would wear that like a badge of honor, to give them, put it over them and give them power. Yeah, definitely saw that, was forced to participate in it. Yeah.
Now, a lot of researchers have drawn, and myself included, incredible tangents between a lot of the things that are happening and Nazi Germany, World War II. Even the source of MKUltra being engineered through scientists that came over by way of Project Paperclip that were part of Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. Mengele being one of them. Now, where do you see some parallels between your experience and, we'll just specifically single out Hitler and Mengele?
Well, a lot of Mengele's experiments, mm-hmm. they took a lot of the mind control from, like, he was kind of like a basis for how they started doing, continued to do what they were doing. A lot of like how your body functions. Like for me, they would connect me with different, like heart monitors. And, you know, if my heartbeat went up, well, you're going to do something evil. This is what, when your heart does this, that means you're going to do something evil. It's just like warning you. So I will, a lot of times will have like heart pain because, you know, I've been programmed like that's a warning signal. I'm a little afraid here, you know, I'm anxious here, like, and a lot of like, where they'll take you really to the brink of death, like through deliberate drug overdose.